want to comment? Great. On our agenda, the comments are first. So after we take roll call, we'll call you up. Just say your name, and you can speak. Hi.
They drop off pretty quick. You have to get pretty close. If you can hear yourself through these speakers, then we can hear you clearly on the stream. If you're far away, it drops off very quick.
Hello. Test 1, 2. Works.
Test.
They were saying if you can't hear yourself, then it's not loud enough. Last time, or at our last meeting. Downstairs.
You have to talk like this on them. If you talk like this, it won't pick it up.
You get a whole month. Oh no. Yay. Well, yeah. At least it was only COVID, right? It could have been a trip to Europe or something.
guys happen to have a picture in print of the little pocket park for us today? It's no big deal. I have it on my iPad. I can blow it up if you don't. Oh, I need to get one of those from you. A packet? Are you?
Justin.
Well, I have it on my iPad. I don't want to. Yeah, I know, right? My eyes are so bad. I need glasses.
You all ready downstairs?
Hi, Bob. Both Bobs. Both Bobs. Hi, Terry.
Alicia won't be able to make it.
And Shelly texted she's on her way, so she can just join in, I guess. I do, thank you.
Are we ready to go live? Okay, welcome to the City of Upland Special Economic Development Committee meeting on January 31st at 4:01. Are we gonna, do we need to call roll call? Or?
Yeah, you got roll call. And then,
We don't have anyone's name. Oh, here we go. There you go. Council member Shannon, Mayor Pro Tem Shannon Moss,
Present.
Terry Galdo.
Here.
Ron Stark. Here. And you said Shelley Verinder is on her way. And then Bob Wagner. Okay.
well, we'll do we'll have the names of the committee on the agenda from this point on.
Is there any oral communication, call in or in person? Okay, yes. Sonia, can you hang on? Well, Mel, will you take her a microphone so the folks at home can hear her?
Thank you.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, my name is Sonia Stump, S-T-U-M-P. I actually came here as a kid to story time downstairs in the children's library. Lived over on 3rd Avenue and walked downtown many times when I was a little girl. So it's nice to be back as a big girl. Wanted to let you know that I've recently taken on the assignment of being an event planner for Historic Downtown Upland, and I'm looking forward to it. I know that it's going to be a lot of a challenge, as you all are aware. One of the things I wanted to just kind of give you a few ideas of things that I'm planning, and we'll see if they can come about. BMX freestyle team demonstration. I want to do a Celebrating Women Month, probably in May. Well, we have a lot of downtown businesses that are owned by women, and figure with Mother's Day in May and all of that, that could be a nice fit. In June, Ophelia's Jump Theater Company here in Upland is going to be sponsoring Shakespeare Festival, which will be in the downtown. We're going to be doing a zine festival and another art festival type event later in the year. And then your traditional October and Christmas events that Upland, downtown Upland normally does. One of the things I hope that you all could be helpful in, and I've talked to Mel about this, is some of the empty storefronts. It'd be really nice to get them cleaned up and maybe put some art in the windows. I'm willing to help call landlords and ask for permission. I don't know how, how that would go, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And I think that that could be something that would make the downtown business owners feel a little bit better about being where they're at. And some of them, I'm sure you know, are quite discouraged. And I know we have a business owner here today. Anyway, thank you, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm glad to answer any questions, or if you have suggestions for me, I'm totally open to that. I need to get by and meet Terry over at the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia.
Can we ask questions?
Yes, Ron, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So just a quick question. A few years ago, Downtown Upland had a Taste of Downtown Upland event with all of the restaurants and even some of the regular shops serving tastes from local Upland caterers. And it was a huge event, and people loved it. Any thought of bringing something like that back?
Absolutely. I think that's a great event. I mean, that's a great idea. Also, want to do like a wine walk. Maybe could do a combined wine and food thing. I'm trying to be a little bit realistic this first year out, and I'm not exactly sure of my budget yet. So we'll have to see how that all goes as well. But I'm open for ideas and suggestions, and if you're a worker bee, get a hold of me because I can use the help.
If you stay around, that is actually a discussion item on this first agenda, which is to maybe talk about additional kind of events that we can have in the downtown.
I actually read your agenda, and that's why I came.
And Sonia, a recommendation, Ron bringing up the Taste of Downtown. I think before it was held in the winter when it was quite cold outside, so if you took that into the summer months, I think it would be a bigger hit.
I like that, and I could also see doing an art component with that as well. I mean, we could just do some fabulous things. We've got the space, and I will say we really need to get the parking lots repaved, you guys.
Does
Anybody
HD
else? Mayor Pro Tem?
Hi, Sonia. Actually, you took our Moss family photo like 25 years ago. She's an amazing photographer. Are you contracted through HDU? Okay. And so, yeah, so you go to their board meetings, and that's where all of it's transpiring and through their allocated budget? Okay. Well, it's great to see you over here in Upland, and I know that you've been instrumental with the chamber and in Claremont and downtown Claremont, so maybe we can get you to open a studio in downtown Upland as well. Do you still have your studio in Claremont? Yeah, well, it's great to see a familiar face. Thanks for coming today.
Does HDU still receive funding from the city, or has that changed?
No, that has changed. We have a policy and plan with the HDU board, and they receive the 85% of the PBIA funds that we get. We get around just under 60,000. They get 85% of that. The other 15% is our admin cost.
Yeah.
And so they're allotted so much every quarter.
Yeah, okay, that's what I meant. So they are still, so don't let them fool you. There's budget.
Do we have somebody from the city, is it you all that she communicates with to bridge the gap about what we're doing with city events versus HDU events and that partnership? Does it all go through your department?
Yeah, you should coordinate with Mel.
Okay.
Since we're on the topic of downtown, I did hear a rumor going around downtown that empty storefronts, we're going to start getting fined. Is that true? Okay.
We had a meeting with HDU, and they had brought up something that other cities have done, which is like a vacancy tax. They had briefly brought that up, but there's nothing that's being done about that. We would need to get policy direction from the council if that's something that you wanted us to pursue.
Well, that's it could be a two-edged sword, because if a building owner doesn't really care to rent it out and they're getting harassed by the local historic downtown merchants board or the city, then they just put in whoever wants to go in there, and that might do us more harm than good. So I think we should work with the property owners and see what we can do to help them get someone of quality in.
I think what we can do is, as a staff, is we can contact some of those building owners and try to be proactive in finding out why they're not leasing the building and try to work that kind of informal way.
And I don't think there's that many empty buildings anymore, right? Most of them are in transition to becoming restaurants and such. Terry?
Is there any type of an ordinance? Is there any type of an ordinance?
It's on, just you can pull it. But if
Any
you
type
can't,
of an ordinance or a policy from the city for a business to be open for so many hours?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
Is there a policy or an ordinance for the downtown merchants or any of the businesses that do have a business to be open, like so many hours per week? Or, because some of them might seem like I've never seen open.
Yeah, there is no ordinance, and we can only regulate at some point, and then you're getting into like really something that we don't have authority to tell a business, when they should open, how many employees they should have, that kind of thing. Without that, there's nothing that we can do, from a regulatory standpoint. But one thing that's on our list to do is to process a specific plan amendment and prohibit them using their storefronts as storage, or even for an internet business where their doors are not open. That's something that will help the situation, and that's on our list to process.
So that would mean that existing businesses right now would be grandfathered in. It would just be any of the new businesses coming forward that would be.
Yeah, existing would be grandfathered
Okay.
in, but I don't know if any of them have any approval to do what they're doing in terms of not opening the doors and using their space as a storage facility, which some of them are.
I have a dumb question on that. I know that when someone new comes in, the city goes through a vetting process to determine if they're a fit for downtown or not. And I guess has some authority to say no.
Not a fit, whether it's allowed use in that district or not.
Yeah, okay. So these places that are using them for internet businesses or anything that is non-retail or restaurant, can't the city just change what's allowed and what's not and say, hey, we're not allowing internet businesses in downtown anymore?
Well, some of these businesses don't have a business license or our approval, like a zoning letter that allows that. So they're just doing it. And that's really a code enforcement thing. You go, kind of canvass the area and find out those businesses that don't have a business license or a zoning verification letter, and then do enforcement.
Yeah.
Would that be something that as we see a business that is doing that, to reach out to code enforcement and let them know?
Or you can reach out to us, and then we'll contact code enforcement on your behalf, and then get something going.
Code enforcement has requested us that if anyone has any code or potential code issues or concerns, that they actually contact them directly. So Desiree Shefflet is the code enforcement officer for downtown. So if you could contact her, it's easier to email her. They can get their emails from anywhere on the field in the office.
But I've also used as a director of the department, I've also used my position as well to help expedite things.
Strong arm of Bob.
No, it's be nice to Bob.
No, it's not that heavy-handed.
There's a few people, Bob, that texted they can't hear you, so when you talk in the mic, maybe pull it closer.
Yeah, I'm not sure the effectiveness of this microphone. Okay,
You have to hear us
Okay.
in the auditorium.
okay.
Okay, so we're going to go to agenda item number 3, status of projects in downtown Upland, and this will be done by staff.
Yeah, I just want to just give a brief intro. We're doing a number of projects in downtown, and Gio is implementing a number of those, and so he'll be giving you status on some of the programs he's implementing. There's also 3 residential projects, so I'll give you a kind of an update on. And then also, let me just get to that. We've give you also an update on the downtown urban plaza. And so I'll start with Gio.
Good afternoon, committee members. Today, we're going to talk about the downtown programs that we are currently running in the downtown relative to attracting restaurants and retail to address the vacancies and different uses in the downtown. So we'll start with this one. So the first program is the Commercial Rehabilitation Program, and it's a facade grant program. And what that does is that assists businesses that are in the downtown currently make needed improvements to the downtown facades. We currently have 7 projects that we're working with and are in different phases of getting ready to start construction. But we anticipate having all these started construction in the very near future and completed hopefully by sometime in the summer. So the first one is Studio 429. Studio 429 is a restaurant. It is currently, well, it's a vacant building. I guess it used to be a flower shop, and it's being turned over into a restaurant. Rad Coffee and that building also will get an existing business, and it will get a facade improvement as well. If you scroll down a little bit, Mel. The local baker, they just signed their construction contract, and they should be starting sometime this week or next week. The optometry place is also on our list of businesses to assist, and we are in the process of signing a contract with them as well. The Galley Fish Grill is another full-service restaurant, and that restaurant, we've met with the owners there, and they're in the process of getting all their interior TIs work done and hopefully moving into a completed phase shortly. We have another brand-new brewery coming into downtown, which is called Pro 5 Brewery. They're in the process right now of working with our architects on all their interior improvements. And then Talk About Good, as well as another restaurant that's going to be coming into the downtown. The Pro 5 and Talk About Good, they're in just different phases of doing a lot of their interior work. And so that's kind of where we're at. And once they have all that done, then we can continue with the exterior work. All the interior stuff is all done by them, not by the city. The city just focuses on the exterior of the businesses. In addition to these ones, we also have another 4 additional businesses that we're assisting, and they're currently either on a hold phase or the pending phase because they haven't been pre-approved by the council yet. But once we get them approved by council, then we can add them to our list as well.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Talk About Good.
Mhm.
I don't know if it was brought to your all's attention, but once the restaurant's complete, it's going to have outdoor seating.
Mhm.
And there was talk about the unsafetiness of the parking lot because when you come up north, you're infringing on the sidewalk, and now there's more activity with him out there. If there would be a way to flip it so that traffic would go down that lane, around and up. So I don't know if that's Public Works Department or if you can move the stop sign that it's hidden now more forthright. But with having, I think for safety reasons of people, I don't know how far their patio is going to go, but if you could take a look at it or, okay.
Yeah, we will. We'll take a look at that, and we'll talk to, I guess it would be Public Works, right? The Traffic Division? Yeah, and we'll talk to them.
Thanks.
Thank you for that suggestion. In addition to the facade program, we also run a business attraction and assistance program in the downtown to encourage businesses to move their locations there, open up new restaurants, so forth. Currently, we have a total of 5 businesses that we are assisting. Again, Studio 429 is one business. Again, it'll be a full-service restaurant. Magnolia Tea Room has already been assisted, and they are just in the process of processing all their expenditures and so forth, so we can get them. This program provides up to a $50,000 forgivable loan, and that's in exchange for providing a full-time equivalent job to a low to moderate income person of the area. After a 2-year period roughly, we will forgive the loan, and then the business is off the hook relative to paying back that loan. Talk About Good is also on there as well, trying to get assistance through that program as well to open. Profile Brewery and the Galley Fish Car are in the application review stage, so we hope to get them going as well. And then we also have 3 additional businesses that we are assisting, and again, those ones aren't formal yet, so we'll just leave them off this list for now, but there's other items that are in the work there. So staff, what we do is we really work with the businesses to try to bring into the downtown with the overall goal of improving the quality of businesses that we are getting in the downtown, as well as the variety. The last program that we're doing in the downtown currently is the Downtown Parklet program. And this program's kind of morphed over time, but the idea is to create more open space in downtown so we can provide residents a area where they can socially distance, as well as take advantage of the downtown services that are out there in restaurants and so forth. So we will have 4 seating clusters of 2 clusters apiece. The seat clusters will be designed to look somewhat like what's there and be decorative in nature, have a historical influence in them, and then basically look similar to what's already there, so it doesn't look like it's brand new. So those are the programs that we're doing in the downtown, and this one we anticipate also starting construction probably late spring, early summer, and then being completed by the end of summer, so we can take advantage of that as well. Yes, sir.
So are those going to close down the streets?
No, those will go in the parking lanes. So there's some unused ADA parking space that's there, and so we are going to transform that space to a more viable, open space for people to sit down there and just.
Okay, and the streets will be wide open.
Yeah.
In the past, if you look at the ADA parking spaces, that used to be a parking spot right there that came into where the wall is. So they closed that down to be able to allow van access. So you can have the elevator for the wheelchairs. So they took out that parking space at one point in time. It's been many years ago now. So people tend to park in there still, but this way, by closing it off, it will give us a nice, safe seating area.
So that pretty much ends my presentation relative to the downtown projects. I'd be happy to answer any questions or concerns you guys have. Okay.
I think the only thing I would have a question on is I guess the parking lots, because I know a lot of these businesses are relying on the parking lots, and I think that was already addressed at some point. Is there any reportable action and what was going on with that, especially the one on A and First, behind the fish galley?
Oh,
That one's approved. It's been approved to receive revitalization, right?
Yeah,
Revitalization?
That one's been approved and the funding's been there. I'm not sure where they are in the process. You guys know, but I believe it's out. It's going to be out to bid. So that'll be the first one that you'll see. That's been an ongoing project. I think they're finally getting to the point where we'll go out to bid. And in the list of projects under the ARPA money, there's $750,000 that's going to go towards redoing the downtown parking lots, but that'll probably only encompass 2 parking lots.
I can add on that. I did speak to Public Works. They have been working on the design. They've made some revisions to the lighting to include LED lighting. There were also some revisions made to the trash enclosure. So that's the reason why there's been some revisions to the plans. So then the next goal is to take it to bid.
I just noticed that Pro 5 Brewing had reached out to the chamber, and they had mentioned that part of their hiccup on getting moving forward with opening was that parking lot. So I just wanted to make sure that it was moving forward, and someone had mentioned to them it might not go through till 2023.
No, we're actually working with Public Works to try to get them to do that and not have that, the applicant incur that cost.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And weren't you guys talking about having some other parking instead of having, I guess, what is it, diagonal or what we have now on the streets? You have them go into an angle so we can have more cars parking on the street?
Yeah, so part of the grant that we submitted to Congressman Aguilar's office included kind of an overall improvements to the public realm, and that was one of them, is to try to get angle parking mostly along, I think, C Street. I think First Street, there's the ability, similar to what they did on Third Street. And so that's one of a number of things that we're doing as part of this overall project in downtown to enhance the public realm.
Okay, and on these parklets, wanted to ask about these openings, like in the street area, and then at the disabled van access area. Are you leaving those open, or wouldn't it be safer to have people enter into those parklets from the crosswalk and then enter in where the cutouts are?
Yeah, so initially, we're going to require the people to walk through the crosswalk in there, but the ADA access will provide them the ability to get off the ADA parking structure, stall, and into that blue hash mark area, and then roll in as well.
Okay, thank you.
So would that mean that the metal bollards are there at all times so that no one's able to drive through there? Permanent?
It's cemented into that area so that the cars at times do go through that area, so that they don't do that.
And so this is also something that hasn't come up yet, but Public Works has submitted with our assistance an application to create additional parking. It's only going to be a few more spaces, but we're trying to clean up the area where the old transformer used to be adjacent to the Eden Garden Restaurant. So that application is going to be submitted, and it will be reviewed by the CDBG committee. Hopefully, that'll be a project that we can also look forward to in the future. And there's additional opportunities, hopefully, in the next couple years for Public Works to move forward with also trying to rehabilitate some of the parking lots in downtown.
And I forgot to mention, I've asked Public Works to kind of take a look at Second Avenue between C and D with anticipation of a potential restaurant going into the old Mitchell's Plumbing Building. There's parallel parking along that area, and I asked them to take a look at that segment to see if we can stripe angled parking in each direction so that there's immediate parking right there. So that's one thing I've asked them to take a look at. And that's just a matter of, geometry and paint, basically.
Thanks, Joe.
The other part of this item is the downtown urban plaza. So if we can put that, there you go. So we had two public workshops that were held outside because of COVID in the Veterans Plaza, and they're well attended, about 15 to 20 people on each one. And from those two public workshops and comments that received, Architectura, the landscape architectural design firm that was hired, came up with this design. This went to the Planning Commission, and they are recommending approval. Last year, we haven't had a chance to take this to the council yet because we were waiting for the community project funding grant that we hopefully will receive for $1 million. And we wanted to wait until the outcome of that. We were one of 10 projects that Congressman Aguilar selected for his district. This went to the Appropriations Committee in the House of Representatives, and it made it in the bill. So right now it's tied up in the Senate, their process. And so hopefully that'll come to conclusion. This is the design that we'll be taking to the council. It has a lot of amenities in having this designed, and also some of the comments we received. I'll just go over a few of them. Number one, if you can, Mel, if you can kind of use the cursor as a pointer. That's over in the upper right-hand corner. There will be a primary entry feature, like a gateway or arch gateway, something along that effect, which, I mean, Second Avenue would be kind of the main entrance. The building wall, the Mitchell's Plumbing building wall, I don't know if you recall, but it actually, there was the building which probably stopped less than midway between the alley and the Second Avenue. The owner was basically just going to replace the corrugated metal building that was there. It was kind of a wall, and we asked him, in going over our vision for this site, to just extend the building wall all the way to the alley, which allowed for a nice wall to ultimately have a mural on there. And he's been on board with what we're doing and has been very good to work with. And so the addition to the back of the building was as a result of those conversations that we had with him. There'll also be, see, number 8 is there'll be some column pilasters with street posts. So there'll be a string of lights that will go across, yeah, right in there. A string of lights that will go across kind of the area where people will congregate. You have a bandstand right there that's about 500 square feet in size with enhanced paving. We have an inlay, 1906, the year the city incorporated. There'll be an opportunity for some donor bricks kind of around that, as well as 2 shade trees, and then additional landscaping in some of the areas. There'll be a landscape planter between the building wall where Mitchell's is and the bandstand. Also, there'll be some covered trellis structures where Mel's pointing out there, and also in the eastern part of that area, which is more of a park-like kind of in a way, where the western part is more urban. There'll be a small little grove, more trellis structures. There'll be a bridge that goes to your left, Mel, right there that will go across, and that area there's a bioswale to kind of direct the post-development runoff, kind of like a detention, little bioswale there. Anyway, it turned out to be a really nice design, and we wanted to kind of go over that with you. If you have any questions on that. It'll be a great, I think, for the downtown. The downtown doesn't have an urban plaza where people can congregate. And what's nice, having this major Class 1 trail that goes right through that area, and with the restroom that we had gotten with, was that CARES Act money, I believe? It'll also act as a kind of a quasi trailhead as well.
What's the timeline on this?
Well, really, we're waiting for the grant, the official notification that it's been approved. We're on the bill for our projects, a list of projects that are on that appropriations bill. And we didn't want to take this to the council until we had a kind of a funding plan in place. So that grant is a major part of that.
Are those bathrooms workable now?
Well, it's not energized yet. We're waiting for Edison to energize that. And
That's separate in the funding, right?
Yeah.
So they could- okay.
yeah, that's what in the Public Works' existing budget that they'll pay to have Edison energize that. But it has been used temporarily. I think for the Tour de Foothills, I think they use a generator to open up the restrooms there, I believe.
What's the estimated time on that?
You know, we keep asking Public Works, but they kind of defer to when Edison, I'm sure it's imminent. It's been taking a while.
Is Mitchell still moving on with rooftop dining?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
retrofitting and.
Yeah, the truss is already in, and he's actually going to really have a nice floor on the roof.
Seating.
Yeah, yeah. And we have the elevator building, but there'll be 2 bathrooms up there as well, because the building, the roof can hold up to 100 people. Yeah, so there'll be 2 restrooms up on the roof as well. And also, I think there'll be a bar. It all depends on the tenant.
So I had the privilege last week of going up to the rooftop and walking around up there. It's quite a view. It's spectacular. And then they're going to put on top of the roof, they have that rubberized roof right now, and they're going to put some kind of decking material so you can walk across it. And if they had to make any repairs, they can pull the decking up, do repairs, put it right back down. But it's nice. 2 stairwells and an elevator.
Yeah. And he's going to reinstall the tower that was there. It was a communication tower from Mitchell's, and he's going to reinstall that. And we're looking at potentially making that like a beacon, maybe having, you know, downtown Upland on it or something, kind of to draw attention. So,
Do you know what his estimated cost is? Or what?
he's just spent a lot of money on this building, a lot. And
Like 6 zeros?
close to that. But I mean, it's going to be really a,
7, I think it'd be 7 zeros.
yeah. It's going to be, I mean, it's going to be an asset to the downtown. Yeah. Any other questions on the downtown urban plaza? Okay. Also part of the status on downtown that we wanted to update you on is we have 3 residential projects going on right now. The first one is the city's 1-acre property on First Avenue and A Street. We entered into an exclusive negotiating agreement with City Ventures, who's an urban housing developer. And right now, staff is working on the final provisions of a disposition and development agreement to sell the property. They are proposing a 29 three-story townhomes. And that's the site design. The elevations we don't have yet, but they are going to, the council wanted a kind of a historic architecture on those townhomes. So you have, along First Avenue, you have 2 buildings that would have, you know, townhomes attached side by side, 3-story. And then in the back, you would have 3 more buildings. Those back buildings would take access off that alley. So what's nice about townhomes is the parking is within the footprint of the townhome. And so that allows them to provide additional guest parking for the residents. And there'll be a small pocket park there. And so hopefully we can get the DDA finished and to the council for approval. What are we looking at, Mel? March, first meeting in March, possibly?
Possibly.
Okay, first meeting in March.
Question,
Yeah.
how many parking spots per home? Are you
There'll be two
budgeting?
covered parking garage in each of the townhomes.
They have attached garage.
Right, okay, 1 car, 2 car?
Oh, 2 cars. Your standard townhome that has a 2-car garage on the ground floor, you generally have like a kitchen or a family room maybe on the ground floor.
And then
Then,
beyond that, there'll be some amount of guest parking.
yeah, it'll be the ones you see there that are striped right there in the middle.
And then there won't be any retail in this. This is all residential, right?
Yeah, strictly residential. We have to process a specific plan amendment. Right now, the First Avenue Overlay District and the urban core, that doesn't allow residential on the ground floor. And in discussing this with the council, they preferred to have all residential in this area. So we have to process a specific plan amendment that allows strictly residential as well.
So if anybody's curious to see what kind of work they do, you can Google Maps, the city of Covina, and on the corner of San Bernardino Road and Citrus, it's on the southwest corner. But the building they built there, it's residential on top, it's a mixed use with retail on the bottom. So you could kind of see the style they do. They make it look like the buildings were built in different years, at different times. They do really good work.
Yeah, they're a quality developer. And kudos to Rudy. He's the one that actually had seen the project in Covina and steered them our way. Yeah. The other project, Mel, if we can get that one up. This is on A Street. It's east of the ATI Packing House. And this was approved a couple years ago, 111 unit apartment building. Has a kind of a contemporary architecture, a lot of pop-outs and a lot of shadow areas. It's kind of a nice looking design. That's in plan check right now. And we're waiting for the second plan check to be submitted by the project's architect. And hopefully we can be seeing that under construction, hopefully this year sometime.
Now, Bob, this was approved about 4 years ago, correct?
I think it was approved a little over 2 years ago, or no, you know what? It was approved right before I came here, so it was over 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was before the 2018 election, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. 111 units, it has 54 two-bedroom and 57 one-bedroom. There'll be amenities, there's a community lounge, fireplace, exercise room, pool and spa.
Would they be interested in buying the old Euclid liquor since they're going to be digging everything up anyway and like turning it into something, like acquiring that
Um,
property?
A Palomares Escrow, the owner of that escrow company, has purchased the Euclid Liquor building, and that will be an escrow office, and he's rehabbing the whole building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And parking for this?
There's in one of the buildings, there'll be a parking structure. So basically, it's at-grade parking structure, and you have a podium with the residential units above that.
So 2 parking places per unit, 1?
Well, for multifamily, the downtown has a parking standard based on bedroom, and this complies with with those parking requirements. And they'll have guest parking as well.
Now, what's happening with the parking lot across the street with the property? I was under the impression that Sandbag maybe, or SCBTA, maybe selling it or getting rid of it somehow?
No, all the area of the Metrolink station, with the exception of the railroad right-of-way, they deeded that to us, so we are 100% owners of that. But I'm sure there's, we'd have to look at the documents, but there would be probably covenants that make sure that maintains as parking for the Metrolink station. But we are now the owner of the parking lots, the depot building, the restaurant building. What is the restaurant? Eden Gardens. So we own all the buildings and improvements outside of the right-of-way for the railroad tracks.
Very nice.
Lastly, there's a third project that is kind of in the conceptual stage, and all we have is a conceptual site plan. So the 2 areas that are highlighted are the linear parcels, the one between Euclid and Second, that used to be the old Rug Lumber property, and the one east of Second, all the way to Sultana, that was the old Shoe Smudge Pot Factory property. That is owned by San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, and it's surplus property. They tried to sell the 2 parcels back, I believe, in 2017. They did want a lot of money for each of those, and nothing came to fruition. And so they had gone through the process again. The Surplus Land Act has changed. Prior to offering the property for sale, they've got to first give an affordable developer, I think school district, recreation district, cities, an opportunity to, a first crack at opportunity to purchase the property. They are working with a affordable home builder that is the selected buyer for those 2 properties. And they intend to develop an affordable housing project on the area, on the property west of Second Avenue. It's a 4-story, 80-unit development. And then that's that. Then the property right there where east of Second Avenue would be 81-unit senior apartment complex. And so that's in the very preliminary stages. They haven't closed escrow on that. We're kind of working with them on the elevations and the site design. And at some point, they'll close escrow, and they'll have to go through the entitlement process with us. The parcel that's between Euclid and Second Avenue is 1.17 acres, and the other one is 1.13 acre. Any questions on those projects?
Would they ever consider if we ended up having to have an additional rail line going through there, where I've heard conversation about that? Would they be wide enough to do that? If we
No,
decided
they're
to go in?
yeah, they're fairly not very deep. And so if there was that, if there, like the Gold Line or if anything was going to go there in the distant future, they'd have to buy that right away.
Now, is the Gold Lines, are they a wider track or a narrow track?
I'm not quite sure about
I
what their needs
thought there
are.
was something about the tracks were a little different. And I think you can put, if it's wider, you can put a wider track and they can run the wider track as long as there's no traffic coming this way, they can have an out and let the existing train come this way and then continue on down. But I don't know if that's rumor or whatnot.
We can look into that for you and report out. Last item on the agenda, we kind of started the conversation at the beginning of the meeting, is maybe we can seek your input on any other types of community events that you think that staff and maybe partnering with Historic Downtown Upland, the Merchant Board, having the downtown. I think you've elaborated on a couple, that being a taste of downtown Upland, which I thought was a great idea, a wine walk, and we'll open that up. Maybe you can bring up any other events maybe you think that possibly the staff can work with HDU and Sonia in the downtown.
Is there still a requirement that there's only allowed to have like so many events per quarter?
I think in
What is
the,
that amount?
yeah, I think in the split plan, it allows only the streets to be closed in downtown 12 times a year, I believe.
So some of these events, if the street was not closed, we would be able to
Yep.
move forward.
Yeah, like if you had a wine walk or an art walk, something like that, that was on the sidewalks and didn't need the street to be closed, and it wouldn't count towards that.
So what about the Lemon Festival? Any word on that? Have we heard anything back from people that were supposed to put that together?
Yeah, the Lemon Festival is under the city manager's office, and they have met an initial meeting to start that process. They are looking to hire a contractor consultant to manage the event. I think there's a second meeting that's going to come up soon, and at that point, they're also going to invite HDU to also be part of that meeting, but that is in the works. We don't have the date yet, but it may not be in April.
And I know the fair changed their dates, correct? LA County Fair to when we used to do ours, our Lemon Festival.
And any talk of doing an Irish festival again?
HDU is actually looking to do an international event as opposed to an Irish festival. And that's just because the event may not be in March, but it'll be in April and have it more of an international flair versus just an Irish festival. That's something that Sonia would be working with the HDU.
And Sonia, I think the taste of can probably stand on its own. And like was said by Rudy, if it's in the summer, that would be way better. But other area cities around us have had huge success with a wine and chocolate walk. Combining the two of those together, all of the merchants could participate. I think it would be awesome.
Okay, anybody else? Now, it says here that we have a recommendation that the Economic Development Committee receive the presentation and file of a 5-year Economic Development Action Plan.
Yeah, this is just to receive and file.
Okay, so we'll receive it and file it. What's next is the Mountain Green Shopping Center.
No, next item on the agenda is the status of the 5-year economic development action plan, and Mel's going to make that presentation.
Thank you. As Bob mentioned, I'll be providing a status update on the 5-year Economic Development Action Plan. Just in terms of background, a year ago, the city adopted and approved the 5-year Economic Development Action Plan back in January of 2021, which is consistent with the city's goal to foster economic development opportunity in Upland. The action plan basically will serve as a roadmap for staff to actively pursue our economic development efforts. Within the document, were presented recommendations as highest priorities. There were 5, and those included development along the 210 state highway and the I-10 corridors, improve infrastructure, develop historic downtown, support industry growth and expansion, and elevate city image locally and regionally. What we wanted to do is provide some accomplishments that have been completed for each of those recommendations and progress that have been made by staff. For develop along the 210 highway and I-10 corridor, staff has engaged Cosmon companies to prepare a hotel market demand analysis, which allowed us to identify some sites that would be feasible for a hotel use. Staff also met with representatives with the hospitality industry at the ICSE convention to promote upland opportunities and also find out what the site selection criteria is for those hotel uses. We have also engaged with the property owners for the old CNC Motors building for adaptive reuse. And also we've engaged with the owner and broker of the 8,800 square foot commercial building that is east of campus, just above the 210 freeway, next to Fort of Upland. Staff has been also in discussions with the owner to assist the potential development of the old Coles building site at Mountain, just above the I-10 freeway. And we've also assisted the property owner of the old Bullwinkles for their new opening and keep that as an entertainment use by streamlining the permit plan check process. Improve infrastructure. Bob and Giovanni also talked about these developments in the downtown, such as the park, or the urban plaza and the parklets. Develop historic downtown. We've also had the rehabilitation of the downtown spire. Have you seen it? Has been completely rehabbed, repainted, and some banners, and give it a whole new look. Also, implementation of the business attraction and the commercial rehabilitation programs in our downtown. We've seen some results with businesses benefiting from that program and providing a new look in the downtown. And then also, we've entered into an exclusive negotiating agreement with City Ventures for the 29-unit development there at First and A, as Bob had summarized earlier. Support industry group and expansion. We've also been partners with the Small Business Development Center for providing professional business, one-on-one consulting for trainings, webinar. We have office hours, and that is to provide businesses with free one-on-one professional consulting services. And we also provide that information on our website. Also, the Chamber of Commerce has also helped us promote some of their services to the business community. We're also looking to continue with our rent recovery program and continue that program. It was very successful, and that will be coming soon. Of course, that information will be provided on our website once we have the program details. We are also looking to initiate a visitation program to meet with businesses and employers to identify some of their needs and to identify their expansion plans. Elevate city image locally and regionally. We did attend the Innovating Commerce Serving Communities Convention in Las Vegas to promote development opportunities in the city. And we used the Discover Upland marketing brochure to help promote the city and to also help attract new businesses to our community. I also have copies if you would like to have one. That concludes staff presentation, and we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
Does anybody have any questions?
I want to make a comment that, so the 4 people sitting across from you, this is it. And that's such a healthy list of achievements. And so it just goes to show the work product quality that they put out for our city. And I said it before and I'll say it again, we're on a tsunami wave of greatness in this city, but COVID and construction and developers holding back and not being able to get goods, that's why we haven't been able to really move forward. And you can see where your last list left off and then all the excess that's been added to it. So it's great. I know that you didn't, it's a little different style this time around because you're not going through districts of business, and I don't want to get off agenda subject because I can sideline that, but if it's appropriate to ask about a certain area in the city and what's going on with that status, I'll ask now, and if it's inappropriate, I'll wait later.
That would be appropriate at this time.
Okay, the center on 16th Street in Benson, that corner, did the veterinarian move forward as moving in as a business, or?
They were in plan check. I'm not sure if they've got their building permit. They're taking up the whole center except the pump house. They will have veterinary services and also emergency services. And there's no tenant yet for the pump house.
And will that go through planning commission for the veterinarian?
Well, it was actually a permitted use. It might have been an administrative use permit. I'd have to check, but that was something we handled administratively.
Okay, that was the only question I got from a resident, so I just wanted to circle back on that little area of the city. Thank you.
Okay, is that it? Anybody else? Okay, so we're going to move on to agenda item number 5, the status of the Coles property.
So it was, this center has had multiple ownership. As I mentioned in the staff report, there was actually 3 owners. You had one owner that owned the Coles site, if you can use your cursor there, Mel. You had another owner that owned just a CVS building, which is a little bit further down right there. The further down, Mel. Down. That parcel right there. And then you had a third owner that owned the rest of the center, which is Michael's and Aldi's and Dunkin' Donuts, Old El Torito out parcel, and those shop buildings. Just recently, that owner that owned the balance of the center closed escrow and now owns the Kohl's site. And that has basically changed the dynamic. And the reason it's been problematic is because the entire parking lot is in a reciprocal agreement. So in other words, if each parcel, that owner must maintain a minimum parking ratio. And then also if there was any impact on the parking lot or the drive aisle, that requires a sign off by all the property owners and several of the anchor tenants. So the Kohl's owner was working with a developer that was looking at doing a project. It would have included 3 out parcels, and they needed to sign off by the rest of the owners, and they didn't get a sign off on one of them. And then also the major owner of the center had a project, and the Kohl's owner did not sign off on that. So now that we have more of a unified ownership, this changes the dynamic in redeveloping the Kohl's property. And so the applicant with just closing escrow is going to be looking at a leasing team and doing a market feasibility study for development opportunities. And they've asked to meet with us in the next 2 weeks to kind of go over our comments on maybe what we would like to see on that property. So this is an opportune time with us meeting now to get comments from the committee on maybe what you would like to potentially see on redevelopment of that site. The Kohl's building is 77,000 square feet. It's 2-story, which is why there's such a huge parking field. Retail requires 4 spaces per 1,000. And so with the redevelopment of that parcel, it could include either demoing the building or maybe even using part of it. So that opens up the area to have some out parcels. You won't need all that parking with the 77,000 square foot retail building. So there's they haven't really locked in on anything yet. Everything's really basically for discussion. So we thought we'd just bring this item to the committee and maybe receive any comments that you might have on maybe potential development of that property.
I'll share with the group. I would like to see a technology school or a satellite campus from one of our junior colleges to keep our student resident population in the city. The school district's plan is striving in enhancing Upland High School's trade school program. So sometimes this stuff could be looked at through a bond, looking at our junior colleges, Chaffey College and Mount Sac. I also think that there's a desire for a charter school in our city as an option. I don't know how the school district would feel about that. But I like the technology aspect of, you know, we have aviation in our city, and they're building a big event center as well there. So maybe in tandem with them, something in that desire.
Go ahead, Ron.
Some cities have taken these large spaces. There was one I was recently at down in Santa Ana and turned it into a venue full of restaurants and retail and bars, and it's just all in one place. And talk about tax revenue. These places are just hitting home runs.
What center specifically did you see that in Santa Ana? Okay.
I'll look it up and see if I can find the name of it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. We'd like to take a look at that.
But they also have that similar, the Haven City Market that's right there at the old
Yeah, like-
J.C. Penney Outlet Center.
Yeah, like a food hall with entertainment, yeah.
But would that require that to be just torn down then? I mean, that,
No, they could actually probably reuse that building if they were to do something like that.
I'm just curious, what's the zoning for that? Is it just commercial?
It's which is the highest commercial designation that we have.
So if it is commercial, if going off of Councilmember Mouse's suggestion, can you do something with school or trade school, something like that?
It might be an allowed use. I'd have to look at the, but there are uses allowed other than just retail in the regional. A tech school or some type of school might be a permitted use. I need to look. Yeah.
you know, when you're driving on the I-10 over there in the Rancho, Ontario area, you see all these career colleges right off of that. So you
Yeah.
would think that's right there in the commercial zoning.
Yeah.
Put Costco there.
That would be nice.
You sick of me saying that yet?
Definitely we'll be asking them to take a look at some, restaurants. There's, a lot of fine, not necessarily fine dining, but maybe white tablecloth or nice restaurants that we don't have in the city where you have to go to Rancho or other cities. So we'd like them to take a look at that, maybe at least get one nice restaurant there.
Or some type of event center. We have nowhere to hold a big event in our city. I know Terry is always looking for somewhere to have state of the city, and it's proven difficult. Probably have 4 events going on in there, or more at one time.
That would be very similar to what Rancho has in that Lewis Playhouse.
Yeah. Like a cultural arts kind of center?
That cultural center right there, that you could have an event there, then different organizations could also use that too.
Okay, so is that it, everyone? No more questions or comments?
I
Staff?
noticed,
Oh,
I
okay.
noticed that nobody really brought up, and I didn't know if that would be part of the 5-year economic route, 66, Foothill Boulevard, just the overall plan from one end of the city to the other end, what our desires were over the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think that would be a great project. Kind of look at the, Foothill went really from highway commercial to now, it's a mixed-use corridor. Between, I think, Benson and Monte Vista, it's kind of commercial industrial mixed use. And then between Benson and I believe the campus, it's commercial residential mixed use, and then you have commercial office mixed use from campus to Grove. So maybe having a kind of a plan for that corridor, and also maybe taking a look at the public realm in terms of, that being Highway 66. Some of the newer commercial has incorporated kind of that design in their freestanding signs, like the Vaughn Center. So that's something should be taken a look at, is what can we do to kind of preserve that Route 66
Is
history.
that something that we could say that that has to happen for the businesses that are brought in or the rebuilds that are happening? It just seems like everything is like a little Mod Podge here and there. And then as you see like the dealership, Ford of Upland, they, had talked about them doing something at one point, and then it seems like obviously probably because of COVID, they're a little bit reluctant with having like a mixed use, or are they gonna just keep it? I mean, just following up with some of these businesses, what they.
Yeah,
what
my,
their
my
desires are.
understanding is, they have a significant fleet sales operation, Ford trucks, and that's going to stay there. And Caliber Collision has taken over the body shop. And I believe the owner intends to take down the buildings that are there now and put in new buildings. And then a portion would use car portion. So that's, I think, their plans for right now, from what I understand. But in terms of that corridor, kind of looking mostly in the right of way and the aesthetics, landscaping, signage requirements, that kind of thing. But mostly that. The zoning is already there in terms of what you sort of allowed in different segments of the Foothill corridor.
Is there grant opportunity at 66?
I don't know, but that's an interesting question that maybe we'll take a look at to see if there is something that we could apply for.
There is a Foothill specific plan, and I only remember from the planning commission, and I think it was a few years, let's see, I've been off for a couple years, but it had to do with signage, when we redid the roads for the bus cutouts, and there was a significant amount of debate if that corridor was ever gonna make a return, which it really has. That's what Gary Schwery and I laugh about frequently, but there is a plan for signage and any new businesses that come in that they have to fit, but I don't think it had a retroactivity clause for existing businesses. So if I remember correctly, that like Ford of Upland, if they don't relinquish that property, then there's no upgrades that would have to happen. But if a new business came in, there would be a requirement on them to update.
So that might have been prior to the comprehensive general plan update and zoning code update. And
Yeah, it was
that
right
existed
after that.
before that, yeah. We'll take a look at that document and think there's probably some good ideas that we can maybe look at.
Incorporated a lot of the Route 66 signage and kind of advertising and the pedestrian-friendly walkways, is what I recall.
And you see some of that metal artwork that in front of the McDonald's there on Benson, and some of that just, you see it in certain areas, but you don't see it following through the whole corridor. It's just like, what's our theme for our city? And just moving forward, right?
Bob, it's fourthstreetmarket.com. They call themselves Innovation Food Hall. Yeah, the number 4th streetmarket.com. Cool, hip place.
Okay, if nobody has any more questions, we will proceed to wrap up. It is 5:07, and the meeting is now adjourned.